Hello and welcome to episode 900 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan, and we have reached a bittersweet moment of the summer. It is time for the final Market Monday of the season. I've really enjoyed doing the show for the last few months. Helps me personally get my head around how I feel about players and what I want my strategy to be around them in drafts. Hopefully, y'all got some value out of this Market Monday each week as well. Really appreciate everyone listening. Anyway, for anyone new, each and every Monday, I go over the biggest risers and fallers in average draft position in the fantasy football markets. I will discuss whether I'm buying or selling these players at their new prices and why. Please note that this episode is more about redraft strategy than best ball due to the time of year. Also, note, if you have DraftKit, see the article titled Levitan's Player Notes for my take on literally every player. Going to start with the risers from the last 7 days. First one I want to talk about is Jaden Daniels, up 2.5 spots to 37.7 overall on DraftKings. This data was pulled before Terry McLaurin agreed to terms with the Commanders on Monday midday. So there was no news around Jaden Daniels that would make him rise. In fact, it was the opposite. When we pulled this data, McLaurin still hadn't reported, which was obviously not good for Jaden Daniels. And also Noah Brown, ticketed to be their wide receiver 3. He's been hurt for most of camp. Think he'll be okay for week 1, but he's been hurt for most of camp. The reason Jaden Daniels was moving up, I think, is due to this round 3 dynamic in fantasy where almost all the players have major warts. And so what we've seen is the market just saying, hey, I don't want any of these guys. I'll just go a quarterback. So Josh Allen ADP is up to 26. Lamar Jackson is up to 28. And Jaden Daniels, as I said, up to 37. And now that Terry McLaurin has officially signed his contract and is back in practice, I expect Jaden Daniels to shoot up even a bit more into the middle of round 3. I think in redraft formats, this is right, especially if it's half PPR. Allen, Lamar, Jaden, Hurts, they have these huge ceilings and also can't really fail outside of injury due to the way they score fantasy points. And we're going to get so many sweet looks at wide receiver and running back later in our draft. There's no reason in redraft to force it at wide receiver, running back in round 3. But as for Jaden Daniels specifically, I'm not sure people realize how insane his rookie year was. Stone cold rookie, completes 69% of his passes, turns it over just 9 times, runs for 891 yards with 6 touchdowns. All of this, first year in Cliff Kingsbury's scheme, obviously, and with meh weaponry. Now he adds Deebo Samuel, who's a really nice fit for Cliff's horizontal raid. I prefer Jaden Daniels to Jalen Hurts just on odds of hitting ceiling. Like Hurts's pure ceiling might be higher. You can see it, gets a ton of tush push from the 1 and regression on the Eagles pass volume, positive regression on pass volume this year. But I think Jaden Daniels' odds of hitting his true ceiling are stronger just due to the defense and team philosophy being more conducive to Jaden Daniels scoring fantasy points in Washington. I'd also note that the Commanders face the Cowboys in week 17, fantasy championship week, really good spot for a shootout. So yes, I am still a buyer on Jaden at the round 3-4 turn here for sure. And in redraft, I am fine with Jaden Daniels in the middle of round 3. If you read my perfect draft article, I had another quarterback there in round 3, but you guys can check that out if you have DraftKit on the site for my round by round look at perfect draft and draft strategy for this season. Before we move on, important note here, the early bird price on our bundle, which combines DraftKit Pro with our in-season product, that expires on Friday night. Be sure to check that out, the bundle, if you plan to play DFS and want our projections, if you want to read Silva's matchups column, if you want to listen to all our premium shows and tons more. The 2025 in-season content schedule is also up in the DraftKit tab right now on EstablishTheRun.com. If you already have DraftKit and want to upgrade to bundle, shoot a note to support at EstablishTheRun.com. We can take care of you there. Second riser to talk about this week is Jaylen Warren, up 2.5 spots to 91 overall. The reason for this rise, I think, is the negative camp reports around Caleb Johnson. And also, I know Silva really likes Jalen Warren as well. I'm just really hesitant to chase Jalen Warren up the board. We have seen multiple coaching staffs fail to expand Warren's role, fail to see him as someone capable of being a workhorse. We also saw the Steelers use a round 3 pick on Caleb Johnson. We saw them use Kenny Gainwell a ton on pass downs in the preseason. But the biggest thing to me is just this donkey, Arthur Smith. I have zero confidence he will put his players in a talent maximizing position. I have zero confidence he will deploy his assets properly. And then this offense with Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be 42 in December and has little weaponry beyond a questionable fit in DK Metcalf, that's fragile too. So while I like Warren as a player, I'm pretty worried Caleb Johnson is going to come on in the Najee Harris role before too long, despite all this camp FUD on Caleb Johnson. And then you also layer in all the systemic risks. So I had a decent amount of Jalen Warren early when he was going around pick 100. But lately, as Warren's price has risen, I've been taking more Jordan Mason, Tyrone Tracy types over Jalen Warren. Third riser is Jackson Dart, up 14.7 spots to 191 overall. Smash preseason for Jackson Dart. 32 of 47, 372 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Also ran it 6 times for 52 yards and a touchdown. That's something we talked about during the prospect season. Ability to run. Jackson Dart is an awesome super flex, dynasty hold, etc. And by the way, he did all that on just 75 preseason snaps, little over 1 full game worth. I don't think that Jackson Dart is draftable in 1 quarterback redraft leagues. Russ Wilson's going to start week 1. And although the schedule is tough, I actually think the Giants are going to be better than the public believes. They're going to have maybe the best pass rush in the NFL. And I think they're going to get competent quarterback play one way or the other. Like, I thought Jackson Dart's preseason really mattered for guys like Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton, because either Russ Wilson is going to be competent and get those guys the ball, or they're going to go to Jackson Dart and he looks extremely competent. So I've come around on the Giants from a systemic look. I think they're going to be fine. I bet some of their stuff in futures. I have a lot of Darius Slayton and Theo Johnson in best ball. I have some Tyrone Tracy. I want to get more Malik Neighbors, as he's been dipping on this toe injury that I don't think is a huge deal. For anyone still drafting best ball teams, Jackson Dart as your third quarterback is a play I consider making when I feel pretty decent about the early season production from my first 2 quarterbacks. I just want to note, it's not a lock that Dart is in there for the best ball playoffs. Like, Russ could play well enough to stick maybe 30% of the time he sticks through the season. But if I have Neighbors, or if I want to do the Dart, Slayton, Theo Johnson backdoor stacks in best ball, Giants do play at Raiders in week 17, and that's a pretty good spot. Let's go to this week's fallers. First one is Teteroa McMillan, Panthers rookie, down 2.1 spots to 42 overall. I think the reason for this slide is simple. This time of year, we get more casual people drafting. And more casual people typically don't like drafting rookies high unless there is some mega hype around them, like Travion Henderson or Emeka Egbuka. But guys like Teteroa McMillan, they're going to sink a little this time of year just because people are hesitant to click a rookie in the 30s. But I actually think that McMillan has had a nice preseason. No injuries, which is big for a rookie. Usage in the preseason games has been great. Tape bros love his preseason. Adam Thielen could be traded here soon. McMillan is the exact kind of rookie, remember, 8th overall draft capital, that is a pretty good bet as he slides in ADP. And it helps that I really want to be in on the Panthers this season. I think the leap that Bryce Young and the offense took last year was legit, and they'll keep building on that. Bryce Young posted 15 or more DraftKings points in 6 of his final 8 games, including a 23 ball, including a 27 ball, and including a 36 ball in the finale. So, T-Mac at 42 overall in best ball, I think that's fairish. I'm buying there, maybe slightly ahead of that 42 ADP in best ball, full PPR. But I would note that Teteroa McMillan's Yahoo ADP is 74.8. Just a layup mid-round target wide receiver there for people in home leagues. Second faller to mention is Javonte Williams, down 2.8 spots to 119 overall. Man, I need to be honest with you guys. I haven't taken much Javonte Williams, hardly any Javonte Williams this summer. And I'm a hair worried that was a mistake. From all the reports out of Dallas, seems like Javonte Williams has won the starting job pretty easily. Miles Sanders has been battling Phil Maffa for one roster spot. Jaden Blue's been banged up. It looks like, a change of pace role early on. Deuce Vaughn is toast, going to be cut. And yeah, so from that perspective, like Javonte winning the job, he's going, 120s, 130s. Maybe I should have taken him a little bit more in best ball. But that said, the NFL does not think much of Javonte Williams. Broncos basically said with their actions, they couldn't play him. And then he goes to free agency, and Javonte Williams can only muster 1 year, $3 million deal from the Cowboys. Similar story to Rico Dowdle, who obviously had a really good fantasy season last year for the Cowboys. But, it's tougher for me here because I would still be surprised if Javonte can actually hold a feature back job all season. So I think the price is fair on Javonte in best ball right now, the way this is run out in the Cowboys backfield. But in redraft, I want bigger swings on my bench. Let me hold a Bashal Tutin or a Marvin Mims and see what happens early in the season with usage rather than trying to squeeze 10 points a week out of Javonte Williams. 10 points a week is super valuable in best ball. Just get some usable weeks when injuries and bye weeks hit. In redraft, I much prefer to take the bigger swings, try to find some ceiling guys that can actually win me weeks. Third and final faller is Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson down 5.6 spots to 38 overall. Garrett Wilson was part of that round 3 group I alluded to earlier, the group that no one wants. And I get it on Wilson. I have done 140 drafts so far, totaling $12,135 in buy-ins. And I've only taken Garrett Wilson 6 times for a total of 190 in buy-ins. Shout out to the free Best Ball Explorer for making it so easy for me to track all this stuff. Link in the Best Ball tab on the site. Shout out to us. But the reason that I've been so low on Garrett Wilson is because of this small win, big miss concept. Given Justin Fields' limitations as a thrower, given how run heavy we expect the Jets offense to be, how does Garrett Wilson smash a 3rd round ADP? How does he go off for 1,500 yards or 12 touchdowns? Obviously, that's in the range of outcomes. He's a great player, staring at perhaps the league's highest target share. And DJ Moore did go off for 96, 13, 64, 8 with Justin Fields in 2023. But I think in most outcomes, like 90% plus of outcomes, a hit for Garrett Wilson is simply returning value in round 3. And so I haven't been taking him there. Now he sinks to round 4 and maybe middle of round 4. I think you can find a decent hit there just on volume, but I'm still leaning away. In redraft, it's just a tough click for me on Garrett Wilson at 38 overall in a Yahoo league. That's what his ADP is. When Xavier Worthy's ADP is 62nd, and Tedero McMillan's ADP is 74, and Jameson Williams is 68, and George Pickens is 61, etc. So, yeah, if you want to read more about that, you can go to the Yahoo default rankings article on the site or my draft strategy. Thanks again to everyone for listening to these Market Mondays all summer. This YouTube channel is staying extremely live, though, all year round, 12 months. 365 days a year, this YouTube channel is live during the season. Actually, I'll have a video up about what we plan to do during the season with this channel, but would really appreciate if you guys hit the subscribe button on YouTube. It's totally free. Best way for us to stay in touch with you, along with our email newsletter and Twitter. Also, if you want to support the channel, best way to do so is by picking up the draft kit. It is $50, allows us to put out some of these free videos. During the season, we will have much fewer free videos, but still plenty more to come. I'll be back with Silva tomorrow for a rankings change and news show. We will cover the Brian Robinson trade. Then we'll also cover the McLaurin signing, week 3 of preseason, and tons more. For producer Ryan. For the data side team who helped me track these ADP moves all summer, I'm Adam. Good luck, everybody.